Greetings from beautiful Funk Studios in Fargo, North Dakota, deep within the depths of the supercharger dead zone. This is the Tesla News and Topics podcast for Saturday, October 20th, 2018.
I think we've got quite a lot of good news to talk about, and look forward to sharing that with you.
Welcome back once again, everyone. We're going to make this a quick one. This is episode 22. We got a few things in the news. I'm going to skip the topic for this week. I'm going on vacation this following week, so the show after that may be late, possibly a week from Sunday or a week from this coming Monday here. But I did want to go over a couple of quick news items and just catch up with everyone. First off, a couple of changes in the Tesla store where Elon had sort of teased a new option, which he was calling a lemur. Although I'll admit I don't fully understand that. If anyone out there would kind of help fill me in on what's the deal with the lemur, that'd be great. TeslaNewsTopics@gmail.com or at Tesla News Topics on Twitter. Anyway, the new option was sort of this tweener. It wasn't really the cheapest $35,000 short range battery. It was kind of a mid range battery option. So what now shows up on Tesla's website, if you go to order a Model 3, you get some modifications to the delivery options to choose from. And what they added was, now they have a mid-range battery option, which is new. This is rear-wheel drive only. And the other thing they're doing, which is new, is they're showing the price with the little asterisks on there, meaning that it's including sort of estimated savings, including the federal tax credit. So the rear-wheel drive option, and this includes the premium interior. I think that as of now, that's still the only option. You get black or white interior, and then the colors are the same. And the rear-wheel drive is listed at $33,200, and then the dual-motor all-wheel drive long-range battery listed at $42,200 with a little asterisk, and then the dual-motor all-wheel drive performance starting at $52,200, again with the asterisks including the federal tax credit. This option is showing up as a 260-mile range, which is still very good. Although for those of you listening in the Midwest or in the North Dakota, Minnesota area, Canada, anywhere where it's going to get pretty cold, I would certainly think twice about it, depending on your driving habits, to give up any sort of range, knowing that there's going to be an additional range penalty. Top speed of 125 miles an hour and 5.6 seconds, 0 to 60, which is still very respectable. The other thing that's a little bit different, and this actually I saw in an article from extremetech.com, they also changed the option to choose a full self-driving capability. And that option has actually been a somewhat controversial topic in the Tesla community for some time now, knowing that you're sort of taking a hedge bet on the future that, if you pay for it, I believe it was $3,000 upfront to pay for that option. And they've been offering it now for a couple of years. So essentially, if you give them that money, you're sort of betting that it'll come out soon enough, at least during the time when you still own the vehicle, and that it will presumably be a lot more expensive by the time it actually comes out. But I will admit, I've been somewhat confused as to exactly where the distinction is from enhanced autopilot features and full self-driving, given that I'm not sure where the gradient would be if all of a sudden it can take interchanges on the highway and you don't really have to worry about that. Is that going to be full self-driving, or is that enhanced autopilot? Or does full self-driving simply mean that you don't have to pay attention anymore? So when the car reaches the point that you no longer need to pay attention anymore and you can go take a nap in your car, that seems like a pretty black and white level. So can it be full self-driving sometimes, and then they'll start releasing features? And I've always been sort of curious as to exactly where that distinction will lay. As they keep adding features, it seems like they will gradually approach it. But then at what point is it worth like another $3,000 where this extra option sort of turns on? But anyway, that option is gone. The article in extremetech.com by Bill Howard, this came out on October 19th, talks about that Elon had tweeted that they did this to decrease confusion, that there were a lot of people that were sort of confused about that. And I guess I'd have to put myself in that boat. Not that I didn't understand what you were paying for, and that really they were pretty clear about saying that when you pay for it, there are a lot of variables that we don't have control over here that will determine when it comes out, including when the federal government says it's safe to sell a product like this. But in any case, they removed it. So I'm not exactly sure why, and I'm not certain that if I was one of the people out there that has already paid for it, how I would feel about this. It certainly would not make me optimistic that it's coming anytime soon. I know a lot of Tesla people that I've heard from consider it an investment in the company, and they're not overly concerned about the fact that the product hasn't been delivered that they've paid for. If any of you out there are in this situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Either send me an email or you can catch me on Twitter. I'd love to hear your feelings on this, and I wonder where people are at with this new change. And then finally in the news today, I did want to cover this an article from CNBC.com that describes Elon Musk as a terrible micromanager. The headline is Elon Musk's extreme micromanagement has wasted time and money at Tesla, insiders say. The author on this is Laura Kolodny. And I just did want to summarize this. Many of you may know from listening to previous episodes that, I'm a great admirer of Elon Musk, and yet there are some things that I think he needs to improve upon, mainly, tweeting for one, and then I think execution on the production side of Tesla. And this article, to me, I think some of this is certainly believable. I don't think it's necessarily a hit piece. I think the headline basically does explain what the people that they're talking to have said, and I think kind of matches up with some of the public comments that Elon Musk has made in the past. So we'll go over this and I'll kind of explain. It was late 2016. Tesla CEO Elon Musk had confidently told investors that his company would be cranking out 500,000 electric cars a year by 2018. To hit those mass market volumes, the CEO ordered a team of engineers to figure out how to, quote, automate everything, end quote, about Model 3 assembly. The Model 3 was the future of Tesla. At $35,000 for the base model, it was supposed to be an affordable electric car that would vault Tesla from a niche car maker for the wealthy to a company that could serve everyone. The team outlined 4 tiers of car parts that could be put together by machines, from the most rigid and easiest parts to the most difficult items, which were the flexible components, including wire harnesses, carpets, and trim. Musk told them to automate everything through Tier 3. The team warned him robots aren't good at installing floppy parts like the big foam hoops that are the seals on Model 3 doors, and that Tesla needed more engineers to manage such extensive automation. But Musk insisted. The company built big stalls into the Model 3 production line at its Fremont factory, including expensive robots that could, in a perfect setup, put seals on doors. They never worked correctly, and, quote, primary seal automation, end quote, was designated for removal in the first quarter of 2018. The equipment remained for months with cars streaming through the stall. The robots were finally taken out this summer, period. So that's a quote, first couple of paragraphs from the article. And Musk did go on to reference this, and so this part he kind of admitted. It continues, Musk eventually acknowledged in an interview with CBS and a tweet in April of 2018 that he had been over-reliant on automation. He admitted, quote, it was my mistake. And they later tweeted, yes, excessive automation at Tesla was a mistake. To be precise, quote, my mistake. Humans are underrated. And I think this was kind of a big deal. At the time, the market sort of reacted as if things weren't going well. And if I recall correctly, the stock sort of took a downturn and overall sentiment took a downturn. But nonetheless, he did admit that this did take place. Later on in the article, they make some reference to sort of overall sentiment and faith in Elon Musk as Tesla's CEO. It continues, faith in the Tesla CEO is being tested like never before. Investors are wary of his social media and legal battles, and that's referring to the SEC lawsuit, attitude toward regulators, and recreational drug use, which was a reference to his 420 joke and his Joe Rogan podcast where he was smoking marijuana. It goes on, many employees think Musk is essential to the company's success. They praise his creativity, sense of humor, and inspiring speeches. It goes on to say that an employee named Spencer Gore, who's CEO at a company called Impossible Aerospace, says, Elon Musk is in a position most will never experience, trying to deliver an industry-defining product on a limited budget. He can't afford to make decisions slowly or even always compassionately. When he involves himself in low-level details, it's to enhance execution speed. For some engineers, this can be frustrating, at times heartbreaking, but Elon's unconventional style is what built the Tesla we all chose to join, end quote. So overall, I highly recommend checking out this article. Again, it's on CNBC, and if you just Google Elon Musk micromanagement, I'm sure this will come up right away. The title sounds somewhat negative, but to be honest with you, as I read through it, I think it's a pretty even-handed assessment of the situation and the reality of the struggles that they've had. Elon Musk has admitted that he's played a part in some of these struggles. As many of you know, I have advocated that he needs a chief operational officer immediately to help him with all this stuff. Richard Branson, as we mentioned in the last show, has also encouraged him to delegate, that he needs to learn the art of delegation and find someone so that he can get a proper amount of sleep. I think there's a certain point where if you're pushing this hard, it actually becomes counterproductive. I appreciate the effort and the dedication and the commitment and all those things. But I think if he could tune this process up, if he could find someone that he trusted that he could delegate to, and I think if he had told the team, I want this to be, just maybe rephrase it a little bit. Instead of saying automate everything, he should have said, the ultimate goal is the supreme level of efficiency. I believe that is full automation and robots. If that's the case, go for it. If it looks like that's going to take too much time, is going to be less efficient, then do whatever you think is best. Some of my favorite leadership quotes, there's a guy named Ed Catmull, who was the, I believe, president or CEO of Pixar, working alongside with Steve Jobs. That was his basic, one of his basic tenets as a leader was, give people the overall goal, but then give them the freedom to accomplish that goal and the freedom to fail, and give them some leeway. So I think he was very good at delegating, and interestingly was also very good about handling and managing Steve Jobs' presence within a brand new company. And so as an aside note, if anyone would like to read more about that, I think it's a great book. It's called Creativity, Inc. It's the story of Ed Catmull, written by him, and his journey building Pixar up from nothing basically to what it became. And also a lot of the book is about his relationship and his interactions with Steve Jobs during that time. Anyway, back to the article. It does go on to talk about some inefficiencies there where they've got disconnected custom apps that they're using to perform the different tasks, especially I think related to assembly, but also related to delivery. I know that when I took delivery of my Model 3, the delivery process was not smooth. I was very happy with the people. They were pleasant. They were professional. The car itself is amazing. The delivery process, not so much. They did use one of the apps mentioned in this article, which is an app called Garage, which employees have, and this is a way to sort of ping your car to find out exactly where it is. Even with this, however, I kept getting different information about when my car was actually going to show up at the dealership in Eden Prairie in the Minneapolis area. And so, I certainly believe this. And I have seen and heard from listeners. I've seen lots of stuff on Twitter and also on some of the Facebook users, Tesla users groups, very, very similar issues. This is not a random, every now and then thing, at least for those of us in the Midwest, to have this level of sort of chaos and lack of good information, sort of a lack of efficiency. It is not uncommon. I'm not saying it happens every time, but this is clearly an area that is referenced in this particular article that also anecdotally seems to be accurate from my standpoint. And there's a lot more in this article. I highly recommend checking it out. Again, I think it's even-handed and probably worth the read. And with that, let's wrap up the show for this week. As always, thank you once again for listening. If you have any questions or any comments, you can reach me on email at teslanewstopics@gmail.com, on Twitter at Tesla News Topics. Music for the show provided by Melodious Thunk. If you are interested in buying a Tesla S, X, or 3, you can use my referral link at ts.la/Jeff, JEFF 62003. The show should be showing up on TuneIn. Any of you listeners out there, if you do happen to come across it on TuneIn, please just drop me an email or something. Let me know that it showed up there. You can also catch the show on YouTube. You can support the show financially if you wish. Patreon.com/Tesla News Topics. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes. Leave a positive review. Tell your friends. And with that, have a great week. I'll talk to you next time.